Everything's Gonna Be Okay. Episode 168. Introducing Maria Despina. On the BTS Creative Academy podcast, UNCUT. With me, your host, Martin Colton. Yeah, and it is easy to get into that.
Absolutely.
But before we dig into the matrix, and before we're here on the podcast, I just have to say welcome, Maria, to start this. Thank you for joining me today. Lots to cover with you. I feel like we're gonna have a good old natter. Yeah, you do. You're up to a lot of things. Very interesting. Looking through your social media, all the different things that you cover. You're a performer. Mm-hmm. You do Reiki. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to tell me if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
No, you're
Reiki healing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much into the spiritual. I'm gathering as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, lots to cover. But before we start, I have a little tradition. It's something really simple that I start most of the podcasts with. I do a little clap at the beginning. Something that I was doing early on through technical reasons, but then people started saying to me, "Can we do the clap that you did with others?" So if you'd like to join me,
I would.
You would. After three, we just go 1, 2, 3, and we clap together, and that's it. We're in.
Let's do it.
1, 2, 3. There we go. And so it begins.
We brought the energy together.
So that's it exactly, and I feel that. I feel that's the beginning of the energy of the space that we're here now. It's me and you, and trying to discover why we do the things that we do. Maybe.
God, we might be trying to find those answers till our dying day.
yeah. But it's I've been contemplating that. What happens if we do find the answers? Because every time I feel like I get close to some kind of answer, something challenges me, and something turns it on its head, and I have to go, I have to look at that again.
Because there's something to learn from that. It's something we haven't encountered yet. That's the way I see it.
Yes, yeah. So tell me, what are you up to at the moment then? What is it? What's your main thing right now? What are you focusing on?
My main thing right now is the energy healing. Mm-hmm. And I'm still casting, and TV commercials was a big thing for me. I'm going to say prior to lockdown and that whole event. And I was a professional dancer for 23 years.
Right, okay.
And but also did commercial modelling and commercial acting alongside that. And then your body tells you one day, you're not a dancer anymore. Well, you're always a dancer, right?
Yes, yeah.
Everyone's a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
I think during that whole period of nobody really being allowed to do what they were, supposed to do, it just came to me one day. I was like, you're going to do Reiki. And I was like, I'm going to do Reiki. And then I spoke to a friend who was already a Reiki master, and he said, you have to train with this woman. Mm-hmm. She lived in Bishop Stortford, like locally to where I lived. And that was it. That journey started. And it was as if I'd already done it.
Right, okay.
So I was like, oh, wow, this is a purpose then.
Mm-hmm.
And
you found yourself within it.
Yeah, and I never thought I'm going to choose my words carefully here. I never thought I would have another purpose other than dancing. I almost said I wasn't going to be good at anything else, but that's not true. So, and then there it was, this other purpose. And that's something I teach dance to age 15 to 18-year-olds.
Okay.
At one of the
dance schools. Is still part of you?
Dance, yeah, I'm still moving.
You're still moving.
And I actually teach at the Jenny Myhill School of Dance, where I also learnt. I learnt at 2 schools, but that was one of the schools that I learnt. And I always say to them, don't ever think you can only be one thing.
I did that for a long time.
Yeah,
I did that for 20 years. And I thought I was going to be an actor, and that was it, and put all of my effort into that. And even at points where I started to come away from that, I started to feel bad, that I started to have some kind of guilt that, oh my gosh, I've put so much effort into doing this thing, and as things are pulling me away. But no, that was my identity. But it also wasn't my identity. I just told myself it was for a long time.
I think when you do that as well, you actually do not recognise all the other things that you're good at. Mm-hmm. Like I'm good at quite a lot of different things. They're all creative things.
Yes, yeah.
And I just kind of thought, no, but I'm not good enough to do it as a job or to make money from it, or and it's just not true. And I say to you know, they're all girls at the moment that I'm teaching, and I say to them, make a list of everything you would like to do, and then put it into priority order, and train in that first. And if that one isn't your passion, go to your list again and say, well, what else could I do? Or you can do more than one thing at the same time. At the same time.
Experiment.
Yeah.
Try things out. That is kind of, I try not to get too focused on regrets, but that, as I look back on my life, I guess I'm like at that point now when I'm reaching 40, so it's like just done the midlife crisis thing, and I did all that, and now I'm reflecting back, and I'm like, I should have played a bit more. I should have been a bit more free. I had responsibilities at quite an early age. I had children quite young, in my early 20s. And so that came in. And we spoke before I pressed record about the Matrix briefly, didn't we? And I plugged into the Matrix for a little while because I thought that was what was required of me. That was what my responsibilities needed of me. But yeah, it wasn't a good place to be.
But maybe at that time, that is what was needed from you.
Yes. Yeah. No.
I'm a firm believer that we are always in the right place.
The right place at the right time.
Always. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So you just have to ride. You just have to ride it. I think if I had learnt to trust in that at a younger age, I wouldn't have worried so much. I was a worrier. I don't really worry much anymore.
No.
Because I just think, well, if I'm supposed to be here, then let's see what's going to be dealt to me. Because it will be a lesson that I need to learn. It'll be something I'm meant to learn that my soul hasn't gone through yet. So let's just go with it. Yeah.
It's a lot more freeing, isn't it? Once you find that place.
Yeah.
It can be quite challenging to get to there. So how did you get there? Was it literally like one day you wake up and there you are, you're free?
I've always been a bit woo-woo. I've always been spiritual, and I've always been okay on my own. I've always been able to not be part of the cool group at school, the friends at school, and I've always been okay to say, no, I'm not doing that because that's not what I want to do, and be the only one that doesn't do it. But I think the dance industry, or the performing industry, has quite a lot of demons that get sort of like thrown at you. And the trick is are you going to take them on, or are you going to just let them fly past you?
What are those demons?
I think there's peer pressure, and there's competition, and there's in the dancing world especially, there's obviously image and weight and all of that sort of stuff. I never really got caught up in all of that, but questioning whether I was good enough was a big thing. Question, because you go from I went to Lane Theatre Arts. When you go from your part-time dance school and you go to a full-time professional dance school, you go from being sort of like the creme de la creme in your dance school to being like, like nearly everyone's better than me.
Yeah.
Because the talent is serious. It's serious talent. And you just have to dig deep and find. And to be honest, I don't think I found that really until I left college, where I found my inner confidence.
So did you always want to be a dancer? Or did you is it?
Yeah, from 3 years old.
Yeah. See, I've seen that with my daughter.
Oh, really?
She
dances?
She does it. She plays. She's in a band. She plays music, but she's always moved. Always, and she just found the beat in everything. Anywhere there was to find the beat, she would find it, and it was amazing to watch. She couldn't stop wriggling from the moment she could move, and she still hasn't stopped now to this day. It's like part of her. I find it fascinating actually to see that, how it can resonate in a person like that music. So you were similar.
I was similar. I went to my first ballet lesson when I was 3. And that was here in Harlow, actually, at the Brenda Taylor School of Dance. And I was actually born with my left leg turned in.
Yes, yeah.
And I had to have a lot of physio, but they actually said when she's old enough, take her to ballet because she will have to stand with her leg turned out. And so when I was 3, I went to my first ballet lesson. I came out, I was like, I want to be a dancer. And my mum was like, okay. all little girls want to be a dancer. And it just never stopped. It never stopped, and the classes started building, and you know, before I knew it, I was sort of 3 to 4 times a week, and then it was even more. And then I was auditioning for dance college, and then I actually had to have spine surgery when I was 16. I'd broken a vertebrae.
Right. Was that linked to the things from when you were born, with the feet turned in? Because my brother had that as well. He was born with his feet turned in, and he had years of surgery to correct it, most of his childhood.
This was actually due to a fall where I landed on my back, and it fractured the vertebrae. And that was when I was 14, but I had to wait a year and a half for the surgery. And so where most people go off to dance college around 16, I had my surgery at 16 and had to wait a year. And I learned so much about myself in that year, because I auditioned for the places in dance colleges before my surgery, and then had my surgery, and then I went and did AS levels, which I had no interest in really whatsoever. It was just to keep me, you know, focused and allow the bone to heal and after surgery. And then I chose Lanes, and they kept me a place for like in a year's time. And I learned, I mean, I'm a very patient person anyway, but I just learned that they've given me the place, so it's meant to be. So stop telling yourself you're never going to get back to the standard you were before the surgery, because it was almost like I had to remember how to walk after the surgery. I was shuffling. That's
a really strong mindset to have at that age.
I think it's because the surgeon said to me, if you don't have this surgery within 6 months, you won't be able to walk. But if you have this surgery, you'll have a dance career. So I was like,
so you kind of knew.
Oh, well, then okay, then that's the way it is then. If he had been a different kind of surgeon and maybe said, oh, maybe you should choose a different career, then I think that wouldn't have put me off, but I would have had to have dug a bit deeper, because somebody professional had told me that maybe that's not the right career for me. But he was like, no, you can be a dancer. I think he dealt with other sports people and dancers before. And so I was like that.
He understood the mindset of
I think so.
How important the mindset is, it sounds like.
And I just did. That was it. I wasn't offered any physio afterwards, so I did my own. I used to take myself to the local swimming pool, and I used to do ballet bar in the swimming pool. I didn't know if that was the right thing to do, but it got me back to where I needed to get to. Then I'd go back to ballet classes and modern classes, but I wouldn't jump. I would just move my arms. And then when I felt, I had to listen to my body. And this is something we don't do enough in general, whether you're an athlete or not. We don't listen to our bodies. And that doesn't always mean physically. We have this amazing thing called intuition, and we ignore it. We ignore our intuition.
I did that for a long time. I had these pains in my body that the doctors couldn't tell me what these pains were. And it turned out to be stress. And as soon as I removed that thing that was stressful, the pains went away.
It's hard facing the thing that's stressful, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That's what the pain's there for. It's forcing you to face
you to look at it and go, you need to change this. And it is amazing that. Like I think back to that pain. I used to sit there in the evenings with my hands like that, all crunched up, and I'd be like, my hands are in so much pain, and then it'd spread to like my feet as well, and I could feel it deep in my bones. But I'd go to the doctors, and the doctors would do blood tests, and they'd search for everything and say, everything's fine. There is nothing wrong with you. And so I let it continue, and then once I made a big change in my life, then the pains very quickly evaporated.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You healed. You healed yourself.
Yeah. Just through changing, the way that life is.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because you're not like, you get all these superhero films, and they show you the gifts of these superheroes, and I look at them and I'm like, we all have those gifts, though. Okay, I can't fly. I don't know about you, but we can heal. We're super strong.
And have you always realised this then? Was there something in having this operation at a young age and having this moment of struggle and realizing that you can work through it? How has that
Well,
affected you
I think
now?
I think it came from being even younger, because when I was at primary school, I truly believed I was a unicorn.
Okay.
I was a unicorn, and nobody could tell me otherwise. And I believed that my tears could heal people.
Wow. And where did that come from?
I think it was a friend at school who also believed she was a unicorn, told me that I was a unicorn. I was like, I love that idea.
Yeah,
Let's be unicorns.
yeah.
I'm talking, primary school age, younger primary school age as well. But secretly, I don't think I ever let go of that. Okay, so my tears might not be able to heal, but my hands can. I've always felt vibrations in my hands, and that's where the Reiki comes from.
Yes, yeah.
That's where that comes from. But I think going through the operation, I then had to have another operation at 18 actually, when I was at dance college, which I think was harder than the operation at 16, because I was at dance college.
Right.
And so I was surrounded by more people that were looking at me in a way of, she's still got another year and a half, and then she's going to be in the industry. Are we going to put her on our agency? Are we not going to, and I don't know if anyone was saying that, but those were the voices in my head that I could hear.
Yes, yeah. There's that pressure at that age for the future, isn't there? To how is the future going to look? And so we have this self-talk thing where we talk it over in our head. Oh, like I must find the agency, I must get into the career, I must move it forward, or I'm going to have no hope.
The ego.
Yeah.
The devil voice on the shoulder, and your soul is the angel on your shoulder. And when the ego is too loud, the soul can't get through. We need to learn to quieten the ego.
Yeah. How do we do that then?
I think tuning in with your intuition. Remember I was talking about intuition? When you tune into your intuition authentically, you're able to go, is that true, Maria? Are you really the worst one at ballet in your class? No. Because your intuition knows that you're not. You might not be the best, but you're certainly not the worst.
Yeah. See, for me also, I discovered there's something with the losing the ego was when you focus more on others. So when you focus on, I did a lot of focusing on myself, and it never worked out for me, ever. When I focused on my kids, on my family, on people that were close to me, that worked out. That was going well.
That quietened the ego for
That
you.
quietened the ego when I looked at, when I did that. But when I worked on myself and did all the things that I thought I had to do or wanted to do, or I was telling myself I wanted to do, I'm working on this ego, nothing worked.
Or maybe it was the ego telling you to work on the ego.
The ego, yeah. It feeds.
Because for me, from what you're telling me, it sounds like that period in time, it wasn't, you tried to work on yourself, but it was almost like it wasn't the authentic time to do it. Maybe you weren't ready to do it.
Yeah, I
Does that make sense? Because there may be things deep down that you knew maybe you'd have to dig up or reface, or because for me, working on yourself is really hard. It is really hard, and it's hard to get to a point where you feel really comfortable doing it. And I truly believe that forgiveness is the key. You need to be able to forgive other people, but you have to forgive yourself. If you're going to forgive somebody else, let's just say somebody else has blatantly done something wrong towards you, and you've been blaming them for years, but you get to a point where you go, you know what? This is only causing me pain. That other person isn't even thinking of it anymore. It's only causing me, I'm going to forgive them. Well, you also have to forgive yourself for ever blaming them and for ever thinking that they owed you something for maybe their opinion or their actions. Do you see what I mean? The two come. You can never just forgive somebody else purely without forgiving yourself for thinking something, for thinking that they now deserve forgiveness. Who are you to say that they deserve your forgiveness? It's like a little vicious circle, isn't it?
You take away the weight and the power that it has once you look into forgiveness, don't you? You take away that power. So for anyone that doesn't know, and I would say I don't know much myself, what actually, we talked about vibration, but what actually is Reiki? So
Reiki is it's a Japanese form of energy healing. So we're all made up of energy, and we have like an energy system, the chakra system in the body. We have hundreds of chakras, but we focus on the 7 main ones that a lot of people, if they've done yoga, they'll have learnt about chakras. They kind of run in a straight line. down your body. And each chakra is connected to different organs, different emotions, and things like traumas, really happy events. They can cause it doesn't have to be a traumatic event, but events in our lives, things people say to us, even birth, because we've come from one environment, we've gone through this journey, however we come into the world, and we've come into this other environment, whether it was a simple birth or not, that's trauma.
Mm-hmm. Well, doctors look at that now, don't they? They want to monitor what happened within the womb.
I think it is looked at more nowadays. But I would love to work maybe either in hospitals, or if, once the mum and the baby have come home, to do an energy healing on both. Mm-hmm. But basically, when there's a blockage in your energy system, say one of the chakras are blocked, you can still function. The other chakras can still function, but there's pressure now on the other. Mm-hmm. It's like if you've got a fault in your car, but it's not a major fault, but now everything's running a little bit different, and it might start to overheat, but it's not going to blow up. But you have to have a little look at it, and you have to fix one part for the other parts to then flow properly. And when you're not in flow, when there's a blockage, it can basically your body starts to malfunction. Mm-hmm. So you might start to feel depressed, or you might start getting hyper,
or the pains that I described.
Yeah, your body starts feeling pain. Maybe you can't shift a cold. Maybe you keep getting colds. Mm-hmm. Your immune system isn't what it should be. So the reverse of that is when all your chakras are unblocked and they're all aligned, your body's in flow. Mm-hmm. You will feel sadness if you hear some sad news, but you can very quickly think logically about it and sort of get yourself into a good place again fairly quickly, rather than getting stuck in that sadness. Mm-hmm. Or from the opposite side of that, you might hear some really good news. This was always my problem. You get overexcited.
Yes, yeah.
Before a dance exam or before a dance show, I was ill. Before Christmas Day, I was ill. Or on Christmas Day, I was ill. Because I was so excited about
You'd used all the energy in the body.
Yeah, and I couldn't... You have to let go of... all emotions to allow space in the body for new emotions to come in, even the good stuff.
Yes, yeah.
You can't fit more good stuff in unless you let go of the good stuff that's there. Mm-hmm. And I've learned to do that now. You cut ties to your emotions. But as a child, my mum would say, that's it, that's the last dance exam. That's the last show you're doing, because you are always ill. Mm. But of course, back then, neither of us knew how to control that or how to get past that.
So when I act... I get that as well. I get a really bad... It's almost like I feel like my mind's in a good place, but my body's in an awful place. Especially like the week of building up to a performance. I'll have toilet troubles and I just won't... my body will be going, I'm ill, but my head will be going, I'm fine. And
that's interesting, actually, because your solar plexus chakra is based sort of around the stomach area. And it's all to do with being in your own power and self-confidence, self-esteem. So
I haven't felt that recently. That was a thing of years ago. I feel like that's gone a bit now. But I do still feel like it's lingering.
But it was possibly because you were doubting yourself, or you were excited about it, but there was also something in there that was like, oh my God, am I going to be good enough? Is my performance going to be good? Am I going to learn all my life? Yeah, so it's coming from the stomach. So it's going to affect your digestive system. Because the solar plexus is linked with the digestive system. This is what I love about it, because it's fascinating.
There's so much to it as well. Everything really is linked, and I believe in like ripple effects as well. So there's like a ripple effect of like one thing leads to the next.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does that meet with the dancing? How do you bring that in? Is there a connection between where you're teaching with dancing and the Reiki? Is there something there that connects?
I do believe there's a connection with my dance performing career and the Reiki, because I was always a very musical dancer. So one of my things was, you had to be on the beat, or I could pick up, lots of different beats in the music. And if I was choreographing, I was just very musical. It wouldn't be that I just heard the music and I danced to it. I would really dance to it, And I do believe that's to do with vibrations. And I did a couple of world tours. So I was performing with a live band, and I remember, arenas, and I remember feeling the vibrations through the stage with the live band on it, and just, how loud everything is through the speakers and the amps. And I do believe that connection with the sound and the vibration, because I love sound healing as well, has connected me to this. Because I was thinking, my God, how do you go from being this to this? And I was like, and when I'm doing the actual healing with people, and I'm using the sound bowls, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can feel the vibrations. It's music. Oh, I could dance. I could, and then I go, oh, well, there's the link. There's the link.
And what about the feeling of the community in an event like that, in a place like that?
When I was performing.
When you was performing, do you feel something from that?
Oh, it was like electric. Different nations and different countries have very different traditions and very different energy.
Right.
For example, when we were in China, no one clapped until the end of the show.
Okay.
So you'd finish a number while the artist is singing, and then silence, and you're like, oh, okay, and off we go.
Yes. Yeah.
And then at the end, they're standing and they're applauding, and they're, every sort of country has a different vibe. But the majority, it's just because obviously, they're choosing to go and see that artist. And generally it was electric.
You said something there as well that I've picked up on recently. The silence. Is there energy in the silence?
There's probably more energy in silence. It's good to give people silence as well. When you're talking. And that's something I would also say to people. You never have to answer straight away to a question or respond. Could be an email. Especially if something has angered you or frustrated you, just give yourself a bit of silence.
There we go now.
There. Just give yourself a bit of silence. Has that other person possibly had a bad day? Has that person, in whatever, if it's an email and you've had an email saying, I can't, whatever it is, you get a parking ticket. Did that person give you the parking ticket really to mess up your day? Or is it their job and they're trying to feed their family, and that's the job that they've got right now? And you were breaking the rules and whatever. But I actually have mixed feelings on things like that. But I'm just using that as an example because they're the kind of people that people get angry at instantly. Yes. They see them putting a ticket on the car, and there's immediate anger. Just pause, take a bit of silence. There's always something you can do about that ticket.
Yeah. I call it the pause, and I discovered it about 18 months ago. And not just silence within like a conversation, but silence in life, like taking a moment in life to do nothing. Because I'd worked so hard on so many different things, and then it all went horribly wrong. And then I stopped. And having that moment of stop for a few weeks, I think it was about 6 or 8 weeks, of doing nothing.
Which isn't long in the broad scale
of life,
is it?
No, it isn't. But it did turn everything around. It did change everything. Whereas when I kept fighting and I was, everything I had to fix everything, and everything was moving all the time. Yeah, nothing worked. But I paused. It was like a reset. There's a reset in the pause.
But in that pause, you gave your intuition and your instincts a chance to actually breathe. And when you did that, you gave the universe an opportunity to guide you where you needed to. You gave yourself an opportunity to see where the universe was guiding you. Because that's something that's always doing. So, that doesn't change. But we don't always see it. We don't see the signs. We don't hear the signs. But like you said, when you pause and you stop, all of a sudden, people say everything fell into place. No, you saw what was there in front of you before, but you didn't see it before. I think I can relate to that in that I took a pause from the performing industry when, everything was upside down. And there was a lot that went on there that I wasn't happy to comply with. So it put me in a difficult place with the industry that I trained in my whole life. And I'm so thankful for that. because I knew it wasn't going to be forever. And then I found the Reiki. And now I see it as that industry that I trained my whole life in. Maybe the purpose of it was to fund this purpose that I have now that's really important to me. So I haven't left the performing industry. I paused it for a bit until...
Because that's still part of you.
Do you know what I said to myself? I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is it now. How do I feel? Because I always thought I would be devastated if that day ever came. And I was like, I'm really at peace with it if that's what it is. But the castings kept coming through and I was like, okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm still meant to be doing it.
Wow.
Because why would they keep coming?
So much of this conversation is resonating with me.
Is it?
Yeah, because obviously it's similar, like performing backgrounds. But I said to myself, I'm done with acting. I'm done, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't think it's for me anymore. And the day that I said it out loud, I said it to my sister. We were going for a walk through the woods, and I said, I'm done with acting. She was like, really? How could I? And I was like, I'm okay. It's fine. An hour later, I get an email from a friend that I haven't seen in 10 years. And he says to me, I'm doing a play and the main actor's dropped out. The play's on next week. What are the chances that you can come and help? And I was like, this is weird.
The universe just needed you to be at peace with being you. You're not an actor. You act. I'm not a dancer. I dance. I'm not happy. I have extreme happiness. None of those things are what you are. Do you know what I mean? And as soon as you
100%.
lose that identity and you just go, that's it, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. You accepted you for the miracle that you are. We are love. That's it. We're energy.
Yeah.
We're love. And then if you can drop everything else, everything that you desire without attachment, and when I say that, I mean, I really want to I really want to do another commercial. And if I don't get a commercial, because I need the money, if I don't get it, then that's going to be awful. That's a desire for something with attachment. It'd be great to get that commercial, that I'm on pens. It would be great to get that. But commercials come every day of the week.
And I think other people can sense it as well. So when you do a self-tape or you're in the room doing an audition and you have that feeling of, I don't just want this, I need this. I think it resonates, doesn't it? And it comes through in whatever performance you're doing. If you're acting or dancing, you see it, don't you?
I definitely went through a stage in my early 20s of needing the job, because I think, oh my God, this is, I've always wanted to do a job like this. I've always wanted to, and that comes across as desperate. The panel might not see it as desperate, but the energy is desperate.
Yeah.
It's definitely noticeable.
Whereas that's gone now.
That's gone.
It's not necessary. And it is extremely hard for young people. So we're saying all this from a place of like, we've discovered it. But if anyone's listening that hasn't discovered that yet, it is hard. And it does sound like, oh yeah, it must be easy for you.
I would say to someone, play with it, play around with it, try it out. Say to yourself, give yourself a little, test the universe and sort of say, you could say anything and say, if I am supposed to be a dancer, show me a blue butterfly. Give me an undoubtable sign that the path that I'm on now, what I want to be an actor. I really do. And because I want to share myself with the world. Not because of money, not because of fame. I want to share myself with the world. I want to share my gift. So if that's the right path for me, show me a blue butterfly. Make it I don't mean make it extreme, but you don't see a blue butterfly every day. And that might not be a real butterfly, but you might pass a cafe and the logo is a blue butterfly. Or it might be called the blue butterfly. Do you know what I mean? Play around with it, have fun with it. And it only takes that one time for you to go, oh, what are the chances of that? Every chance you've asked.
Yeah. See, I still have moments of self-doubt and moments of questioning of like, am I doing the right thing now? And I did exactly the same thing. I had a morning where I woke up and I was like, yeah, I'm putting a lot of effort into something, and into this. I'm putting a lot of effort into this, and I'm enjoying it, and everything feels right. But am I doing the right thing? Just show me I'm doing the right thing. And that day, things were working out for me with me doing nothing. Like, people were coming to me and saying, I've listened to your podcast, or I got a message from someone saying what they got from listening to the podcast. Like this guy that I know quite well, that he's a technician here. And he said, I've just been on a plane, and my 10-hour plane journey, I just binged your podcast, and it gave me so much for that conference that I was going to be going to. And I'm like, wow, like there's so much value in that, in someone saying that they got value from it. And I'm like, but of course, thank you. Like, yeah, the universe showed me to continue. And that's all I did, was just say to the universe, myself, just please show me I'm on the right path.
Yeah. And the art of doing nothing.
Oh yeah, and
that's a skill in itself.
And I did nothing. I did nothing to force that. I didn't reach out to anyone. I carried on. I didn't sit back and do nothing for the rest of the day. I carried on doing the normal things.
But you weren't forcing the thing that you were wanting to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine says, be more potato.
Right.
Because a potato doesn't think about being a potato. It just is a potato. So don't be anything other than you. Just be you. Don't force anything. Just be who you are. Put out there what you want. I think if you've always got the intention of it, whatever it is that you want, it could be a new car, okay? Or it could be a new house. But if the intention behind that thing that you want is good, I want a new car because my car's old and I want to be able to get my daughter to school, and I want to be able to travel to clients' houses so that I can do healing on them, and I want to, the intention behind it is good.
Do you think things also work when the intentions are bad? Or is that coming back to the ego, isn't it?
I think well, it depends what the.
Because
if somebody desires something and it's
because you hear about the worst people always win, don't you? You hear things like that, and you see some people that don't deserve to be in good places.
First of all, who are we to decide who deserves what? And secondly, you only see a small snippet of someone's life as well. That's something I've learned. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And often when for example, what you've just mentioned, if I look back at college and I think, oh my God, all the rebels were in the main numbers in the show. All the rebels that did all the things that, we were told we mustn't do, that went ahead and did them, they were all like the favourites. And you do it because you go, why? Miss Goody Two-Shoes over here is playing by the rules. That's my choice. You chose to play by the rules, Maria. They chose not to. That's not their fault, and that's not your fault, but they just did. And they're talented. None of them weren't talented, talented that got the main parts and this, that, and the other. And I think sometimes we just have to... Some rules are meant to be broken. I think sometimes we have to have a little look, and it's our ego telling us they don't deserve that. We don't know if they do. Maybe it's their ego that's making them behave like that, when deep down it's a cry for help. Often, sometimes people's behaviour. Most of the time, I would say.
Yeah.
All behaviour is communication, isn't it?
But removing that judgment, definitely, it comes hand in hand with that forgiveness, doesn't it? It's the same thing, that life starts working out better for us when we remove those things. Yeah,
and if you can trust in the process, is one of my favourite phrases, then you can go, oh wow, that person there that's always breaking the rules, they've still done really well, but I can still do really well by playing by the rules. Instead of thinking something's unfair.
But what are the rules, though? I guess they're social constructs that we've...
do you mean the specific ones that I'm talking about at college, or just the rules in general?
In general.
I guess one of the biggest rules is to play by the rule. Whatever rules are set, you should play by them. Isn't it, really? That's the biggest rule. But, yeah, that's a very good question.
Because then that, I guess, goes back into what we describe as plugging into the matrix, and you know that we have to do these certain things, and we, you know, there are things in life that if you want to, you mentioned a car, and you want a nice house, and you want to go on holidays, and there seems to be a set way to do that. However, I'm seeing a lot recently that social contract is completely broken as well, because that's not working out for a lot of people, is it?
No, I think more and more people are, I don't know if turning to spirituality is the right phrase, but more and more people are finding it in themselves to kind of go against it. I think slowly people are pulling their plugs out of the matrix, because there's many plugs. There's many plugs. And some people are plugged into all of them, and some people are plugged into some. You know, some people might just be plugged into the one. You know, and that could be anything. That could be registering your child after birth. That's a matrix plug. You know, and it's just interesting. I'm finding it's interesting, especially over the last 4 years, seeing how people's thoughts have changed about so many different things, about what's important in life.
What do you think's done that?
I think being thrown together in lockdown for a lot of people has been a big...
Was it a forced pause? That a lot of people were forced to take a moment?
I think it was absolutely a forced pause, yeah.
So a lot of people took that moment to stop. Didn't even realise they were doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the key. They didn't even realise they were doing it. Because how many people do you know? I know quite a few people that had really stressful jobs that would never have taken some time out for their own mental health. But all of a sudden, it was done for them. I will always find a positive and a negative. You can't have one without the other, so there is always a positive. It doesn't work otherwise. So it's like a magnet. You have to have one with the other, right?
Yeah.
So, and what happened that year, the best summer we've ever had, because even nature went, I'm going to help you guys out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Going to help you guys out. So I'm going to give you the weather of a lifetime. You get out there walking. You get outside spending time with your kids or your loved ones. I'm not saying there weren't negative sides to it. And, you know, for some people being, you know, closed in with people wasn't good. But I do think it was a pause that the majority of us needed.
Yeah, because it didn't work out for everyone, did it? It didn't. There was some dark sides to it. But there was also a lot of positives when you reflect back. So even for me, at the time, I thought it was all negative at the time. But as I look back now and reflect on it, I can see the positives that came from that time. I also got drawn into the negativity as well, and that was a big learning moment for me. I got drawn into. I was consuming the news. I was consuming Twitter almost 24/7 at one point, and it was like an addiction. And I was really drawn into it. And now, 4 years later, I don't look at the news at all. Like, I think it's important to stay informed of what's going on, but I can do that without having a news app on my phone or searching things up online. I can be informed by talking to people. I know what's going on in my world here. I don't need to know what's going on in the entire world constantly.
Well, you never know if it's true either.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So
yes.
I just say to people, inform yourself on things that make you feel happy and make you feel good. And yes, that might make me sound naive to things that are going on, but there is absolutely no point in filling your world with things that make you feel horrible inside. None.
Yeah.
None.
And I had to, and again, like that's such a negative thing, but looking back at it, it's positive because I think I needed to experience that.
Yeah.
I needed to experience how like dark it can get for me personally to realise. I don't know if it was like a hero complex I had or something. Like I felt like I could fix the world in some way, or wanted to find like an answer to fix the world, and I couldn't because I can't. And so
You
I
can
needed,
fix your world.
yes, and the ripple effects from that.
And if everyone believed they could fix their world, then actually it fixes the world.
Because of the ripple effects, because it resonates, because of the energy that passes on.
Absolutely. Everybody you come into contact with feels your energy, whether they know it or not. Every single person. And I think that's an amazing thing. You have the opportunity to make someone feel better without even having to talk to them, without even having to look at them or touch them. If you walk out of your house with a certain attitude and a certain energy, that's it. You've probably affected, 10 to 20 people.
So what would you say to people that say, this is just a load of rubbish? You're just talking fairy tales. What would you say to people like that?
So don't listen to your ego because your soul wouldn't agree. Your soul wouldn't agree. I think a lot of it comes from fear of anything. You don't have to agree with anything that we're saying. And we don't have to agree with anything anybody else says. But it's a real skill to just sit and be able to let someone say their view and just listen. And vice versa. Isn't that an amazing thing, to be able to just let someone say what they think and you just go, that's so interesting. But no pressure of thinking, well, I don't agree. Well, that's okay. We don't need to fight about it. We just need to accept that everybody's different and we've been designed that way. Fear is a miracle blocker.
See, having done this, this is a really interesting journey for me. But I'm speaking to so many different people with different viewpoints, and I don't agree with all of them. And some people have said to me that are looking in from the outside, they're like, oh, you should fight it, and you should... Almost asking me to be like a Piers Morgan type person.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's not me.
No.
Like, I'm interested and I want to allow the person the space to almost question themselves. Like, that's not my place. I don't feel like it's my place to say to someone, you're wrong. Maybe they'll discover it if they're wrong. Maybe I can offer a bit of an insight into an alternative. But I don't think it needs to be done through fighting.
And it's funny because we've become a nation that loves to see people fight. Big Brother. No one would watch Big Brother if everyone got along.
No.
People want to see an argument. People want to see that. Why?
However, I feel like people are watching this. So there is people that are similar to us and want to listen, and the conversations resonate. So there is another side to us.
I believe that's because everybody has a frequency that they vibrate at. And when people match or are on a similar frequency, that's when you're drawn to someone. And the frequencies, the lower the frequency, the sort of more negative emotions that are connected with that, fear, guilt, resentment, anger. And as you go up the scale, you move into like a frequency of love and peace. And then eventually you get to the top and it's like you could choose to be here if you want to or not, because nothing triggers you. You are just, you are at peace all the time. I guess that's ascension, I guess. And so when you meet people that are argumentative, or they're always looking for a fight, or they're always questioning what you're saying, they actually vibrate at a lower frequency because there's a fear in maybe what you're saying could be right. And if it's right, oh, well, that's against what I've been thinking.
How does that challenge my ego?
Me? Yeah. So there's a bit of fear. So I'm going to challenge you because I'm a little bit scared actually that you might be right. Whereas you're not saying you are right. You're just saying this is my thoughts.
Mm.
Fear is it's a funny odd thing, fear.
Yeah, it can consume.
Mm.
And I guess that was what was consuming me at that time by going deep into the news and into Twitter and conspiracy theories. I was getting deep on at one point.
I went down a few rabbit holes myself.
Yeah, it's rabbit holes, isn't it? I think for me as well, like if I look back on, it's a really interesting time, and a lot of people have got a lot to say about that time because it was life changing. That moment.
And you could choose. It's life changing, but you can choose which way it's going to go.
Yes.
Are you going to choose for it to be a good life change or a bad life change? You've always got a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it was the day that I went, I'm going to delete the news apps. I'm not going to have...
How good did that feel?
Yeah. Freeing. The day that I went, yeah, I don't need that. I don't need to be consuming news this much. It's not... I feel bad. I feel bad in my soul. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to put it. Where do we go from here then? How do we continue to stay on a more positive path with the challenges that life throws at us? Because it's never going to be. It's never just peaceful, is it? There's going to be some challenges along the way.
I do believe you can always find peace in every situation, though.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to, it might be that people need to make drastic changes in their life, whether it's that they make more space for themselves, which can help, bring peace into your mind, quieten the mind, whether it's meditation or, moving the body or just having some time. You can just put your headphones on, it's just for you. I think that helps to be able to find that peace in a stressful moment or an aggressive moment or, but I think I mentioned it before. If you genuinely can believe, or know, should I say, because a knowing is stronger than a belief. Because when you know, you know.
Mm.
If you know that you are always exactly where you're supposed to be, it's easier to deal with where you are. Mm-hmm. Because then you can go, well, it wouldn't have mattered what decision I made back then. I'd still be here because I am here. So there's nothing I could have done different. I haven't made mistakes. I don't have regrets because I would still be here. I'd still be in this chair talking to you, even if I'd made different decisions 10 years ago, because I'm here. And I'm supposed to be here.
How do we concentrate on ourselves then without it becoming a place of selfishness? Is it okay to be selfish?
Yeah, is selfishness bad?
Mm-hmm.
It's got bad connotations. You're so selfish. Mm-hmm. But what about, well done for being selfish, because actually you looked after yourself there, which meant everybody else now gets a better you. I mentioned to you before, I've been away to Germany for 4 days to see my best friend. Mm-hmm. My daughter's now going to get a better me because I took some time out for me. Mm-hmm. She had a while of time. She was fine while I was gone. And now she's got an even better version of me because I took some time to just chill. I didn't have to make any packed lunches for school. I didn't have to make sure the washing was done. Yeah, so I do believe that being selfish, when it comes from a good place.
And I feel like it's important for our children to see that.
Yeah, because you would hate it if your child didn't put themselves first. Mm-hmm. I'd hate it if my daughter said, "Mummy, I love you more than I love myself." What? Mm-hmm. So we have to show them, I love myself more than anybody else, because otherwise they don't get the best version of me. I'd lay my life on the line for my daughter, but that's different. I have to love myself more than anybody else so that everybody else gets the best version of me. And I would want her to think that. And sometimes, that of course we do things for other people, of course we help people, But we also have to make sure that with decisions, I'll give you an example. You know, an early 20-year-old version of me, dance job. Okay, Maria, you've got this dance job, but you're going to have to wear this. Oh, I don't feel comfortable wearing that. For whatever reason. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable doing that. You don't do the job then. Okay, I don't do the job.
Mm.
So you're just looking after you. But how many times...
Was you able to do that?
It wasn't actually me that... I didn't actually ever get put in that position. Actually, it was a friend of mine that did. And she did. She walked off.
Yeah.
She walked off set. Nothing was mentioned in the casting, that it was going to be that skimpy, that was going to be this. And it was for somebody famous as well. It was a TV commercial, and she went... And it was a music video. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I did that at a young age. And I don't know where the strength came from. I had a photographer trying to encourage me to do things that I just knew wasn't right. And I just had the strength to just say no. But some of us don't have that strength or intuition, do we?
You know, it's there. Mm-hmm. It's there, but it's blocked. So your third eye chakra here is your intuition.
Right.
And your solar plexus, where, you know, located near the gut, is your gut instinct. Mm-hmm. So your instinct is the feeling. Something doesn't feel right. Your intuition, I know this isn't right. The two have to be linked together. If they're not friends, if they're not linked, then you can't be, your intuition isn't on it. Mm-hmm. You have to be on it. That's where Reiki comes in, and I can unblock the chakras, I can unblock the third eye. Often once people have had a session, their intuition's sharp. And I say, look out for the signs. They're going to be everywhere now. And you're going to go, oh, that's a sign. I'm seeing triple numbers. I'm seeing this. I'm seeing that. A white feather fell, and I asked for a white feather. And I was like, there you go. Mm-hmm. It was always there. If you think of your third eye like a window, a muddy window, I've just scraped away the mud, given it a polish, given it a wash. You can see through that window now. Mm. I see what that photographer's doing.
So what do you offer someone then to break that, to clear that third eye, to unblock the pathway between the two? What do you do? What do you actually do? Is it through talking? Is it?
It's my sessions are about an hour and a half. They often go over, if I'm honest. But it will always start with a bit of a chat before, and you know, everybody's coming to me with a different situation, and some people are very closed off in the beginning and they don't want to talk. That's fine.
So is it a type of counselling? Is it close to that at all?
I don't think it's...
Or is that unfair to kind of put the two...
I think it's unfair, yes. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of therapy.
Yeah.
I think therapy is a better word, because therapy can be anything. It can be a massage. It can be a facial. Do you know what I mean? It's it could be retail, retail therapy. But it's we have a little chat, and then we do the actual healing, where I make them very comfortable. They're lying down, and it's pretty much non-touch. Mm-hmm. Some Reiki practitioners do touch, but actually I lose the vibration in my hand when I touch. Okay. When there's a gap, it's like I can feel the connection between my hand and the person's body. Mm-hmm. And my gift is that I'm able to feel where there's blockages, and I'm able to draw out any negative energy or draw out the blockage, and then I'm able to heal the energy in that chakra and align them and get the body in flow, which I know sounds a little bit sort of make-believe and a little bit, you're not even touching. Mm-hmm. But have you ever thought of someone and then you get a text from them? That's energy. I mean, how do we even make a phone call without a wire in our phones anyway? Mm-hmm. We're stupid to think there's not energy in whatever shape or form it is. Mm-hmm. So hence why I can also do a remote healing. It can be anywhere in the world. I don't have to be with you. Mm-hmm. But that's it. You don't have to be touching someone to be connected to someone. And more often than not, the people that maybe weren't so comfortable talking before, after we have the healing, we have another chat, we sit down, and I make notes throughout the whole healing, and then I give them feedback on the notes that came back. Usually they have verbal diarrhea, because often the throat chakra is blocked, and this is to do with communication. Mm-hmm. And once that's been unblocked, everything's flowing now. Because if you can't communicate, it only really takes this one chakra to be blocked for the rest to kind of go... Because if you can't communicate how you feel,
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of stuck, aren't we?
Yeah.
Even if you're in a restaurant and you can't say, I'm really sorry, my pasta's cold. Even if you can't do that, because no, I'd rather just not say anything. It's blocked. You've paid for your food, you should be able to say, oh, would you mind just making it fresh? Or, do you want to just heat it up in the microwave? Or whatever it is you want to say to them, you should be able to communicate that.
So how long does it take someone to start to feel different?
It can be instant.
Really?
It can be instant. It all depends on why they're coming to me.
Mm-hmm. Will they know why?
I do get some people say, I don't really know why I'm here, but I'm here. I've just always wanted to try Reiki. And I smile at them and I go, I'll find out why you're here. Because you don't just, I believe in the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of the higher self? You believe in the higher self?
Tell me.
I believe that the higher self is that inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been with you through every lifetime you've lived. And it knows everything. It has all the answers. And in my head, I see it as however you are in this lifetime. I see another version of that, but almost like a hologram that kind of hovers above you. I've got no proof of that. It's just how in my head I see it. And it's literally sitting there.
Would you see it as like a guide?
Yeah.
Mm.
It's waiting, twiddling its thumbs going, are you going to ask me how to get past this hurdle or not? Because I'm going to show you. I'll show you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your own little universe. And we don't. And it's like that. And then all you've got to do one day is go, can you just, I don't know what to do. Do I take this job or this job? And then something will just guide you to it. Mm-hmm. And there's your higher self in place. I always call the other person's higher self when I'm doing a healing, so that my higher self talks to their higher self. My people talk to your people. Let's get going.
Right.
So, yeah, that's how I see it. That's just my interpretation. Mm-hmm. And another healer might have a completely different interpretation. But that's how it feels for me. And they have all the answers because they've been with you through all your experiences in every lifetime. They know exactly what you've learned and what you haven't learned. So we've always got help.
Yeah. See, I've spoken about this a few times. I won't go too much into detail, but I had a moment where I believe that I met my help, my guide. And I honestly feel now a different sense of safety knowing that they're there. Because I just know they're there.
Knowing, not believing.
I know.
Knowing.
Yes.
That's why you feel safe. Because it's a knowing. And nobody would be able to convince you otherwise.
No.
Because it's your experience, it's yours. I love that.
Yeah.
But then there's also a difference between spirit guides.
Right, okay.
So I have spirit guides that help me within a healing. Mm-hmm. But I've had a guide with me, I don't really know how long now, but a lot of my adult life, but didn't really know it was a spirit guide until I kind of started this journey of Reiki. And I couldn't see his face, but I knew he was some kind of shaman.
So how did this begin? How did this sort of come to you?
When it was about 8 years ago now, no, about 7.5 years ago, I found essential oils. Mm-hmm. And now I use them for everything. I use them for medicine. I use them for emotions. I use them just to make the room smell nice, but I use them for everything. And I was drawn to sort of plants and natural healing and natural remedies. And I was like, I've always had this, but it's really strong now. And it was like someone was guiding me, always guiding me in the right direction with it. And my daughter's 8 years old, so she was a big reason why I wanted to go down that route. And I really went down that route. Like,
why was she the reason?
Because it was almost like I had this little being and I wanted her immune system to be as natural as possible. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to put anything
foreign,
man-made into her body. So I was like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, you have to have some alternatives. And there is a place for Western medicine, and thank God we have it. Mm-hmm. But for everyday use, I didn't feel like that's the route I wanted to go down. So I had to find alternatives, and I did find alternatives. I found a naturopath, and I found a Chinese medicine doctor. People that, if need be, I could go to for help, for medicine, for advice. But someone was guiding me all the time. It was so strong. And I could see him. And he looked sort of South American. And he had like
so when you say you could see
it was like
him,
outlines. When I closed my eyes, I could
just
picture this person. And then when I started doing Reiki, and you do various meditations in the training, and you are forced to go within, because you have to do a lot of healing on yourself before you could even possibly imagine trying to heal someone else's energy. And he was there, and I was telling my teacher about him. And then all of a sudden, have you seen Encanto? The Disney film?
Yeah.
Encanto came out around that time. And I'm watching the film, and Bruno comes on. I was like, oh, that's my guide. That's my guide. So I've called him Bruno.
Okay.
I've called him Bruno. But everything down to, like, obviously he doesn't look like a cartoon in my head. I could never really see his face, but the hair and the poncho and just the way his body, how he held himself, he was a bit sort of slouched. And I was like, that's it. It's me and Bruno now. And I call Bruno in every healing. And I laugh because I feel like he's laughing at me as if to say, that's not my name. But, we'll go with it. So everybody has spirit guides. Everybody does.
Yes. Yeah.
Some have more than others.
Could it be, I believe what you're saying, but could it be anything else? Could it be imagination? Could
of course.
It be?
Anything's possible.
Does it matter?
It could be that I have come from the mental hospital today and they're going to come for me in an hour. But
does it matter?
I don't believe it matters. I think when you can get to a point where none of it really matters, then it's a pretty good place to be. Because you're accepting of most things.
Yes, yeah.
Acceptance is sort of second importance under forgiveness.
See, when I met my spirit guide, so I had an accidental overdose. I took too much of a substance by accident, which I actually think, as I'm saying accident, that's only so others can understand. But I actually think it happened intentionally for a reason, because it was like there was this book of my life before that night, and now I've started a new book.
You've got the New Testament.
Yeah, it's like there was one thing that happened then, and now this is another thing.
Yeah,
like that book's still relevant, but this is different now.
It's your story.
And for me, my spirit guide wasn't a person. My spirit guide was a fluid-like state that transforms, and only way I could describe it was more like water. And for me, it was very much of saying that everything's going to be okay was the lasting message. I think we were together for about 100 years, so there's so much to unpack from it. But yeah, everything's going to be okay.
It's
and
such a great phrase. It's such a great. It will be okay.
Yeah, and every now and then I get a song in my head every now and then. Bob Marley, everything's going to be okay. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay.
What a spiritual guy he was.
Yeah, and I believe that to sing something like that, he must have understood something. Because you feel the energy from his music, and it was just a sense of it was beyond words. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And you can make choices to do things in a certain way if you want to do more of this or more of that. But it's okay if you choose not to as well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to. You can be... I mentioned earlier about ripple effects. You can be a big ripple, or you can be a small ripple, or you can be a calm part of the water. You don't have to be. You don't have to force any of it.
No. In fact, that's when the good stuff happens. When there's no forcing. And actually, I did a lot of forcing when it came to castings when I was in my 20s. So I left college when I was 20. And let's just say you go for an audition, and they, first of all, because you're still learning the ropes, right? But first of all, you do the audition, and like you don't hear anything for 2 days, and you're like, oh, I haven't heard anything. I'll ring my agent. And you're like, you ring the agent, no, you know, we might not hear. What do you mean you might not hear? Well, no one tells you if you haven't got it. No, you kind of only hear if you have got it. And then you're waiting and you're waiting. And I had to learn, you do a casting or an audition and then you let it go. That took me years.
Yeah.
Or if you're on pencil for something.
I guess it's hard balancing the energy, isn't it? Because you want to do a good job of the audition. You want to do your best self. But then afterwards, it's hard to let go of that same energy once it's finished.
Especially if it's a job you really want.
Or I've had one recently that's in a foreign country that looks really nice to visit, somewhere I'd really like to visit. And you look at all the aspects of it and you start almost telling yourself a story in your mind of how this could go for you. You're
spending the money already.
Spending the money.
What I would do with that is.
Yeah. But that energy isn't actually helpful, is it?
No. No, but you can still put out, you'd like to visit there and it will happen. It will still come along. And if you want to visit there via a job, that's what you put out there. I'd love to visit this country and I'd really love it to be that I'm being paid to go over there and it's a job. Done. Put it away. I'd also really like beans on toast for dinner tonight. Done. Put it away. It's hard. It is hard though, I think, to do the letting go. But the younger you start doing it, the better.
Yes.
The younger you start, the younger you just understand that what's really important is now. Because there is no before and there is no after. Not
One
yet.
of the most important books I've ever read is Eckhart, I'll pronounce his surname wrong, Eckhart Tolle. Yeah. The Power of Now.
I haven't read that one.
No.
But it's on my list.
It's just, this is all that exists. Me and you, right here, right now.
And that's just gone as well now.
Yes.
That's just gone. That's just gone.
Yeah.
We worry about something that doesn't exist, and that's the future. It's not here.
I find the intuition works best when you live in the now as well. The intuition, you can trust in it.
Well, the intuition's only plugged into now. So that's why it becomes off for people, because they're not living in the now. They're not living in the now, but their intuition is. So that's why it's off, because they want to have the intuition of in the next few days. You can't, because your intuition isn't in the next few days, it's in the now.
Or sort of stuck in the past as well.
Or stuck in the past, but your intuition isn't. Your intuition is here, but you're physically stuck in the past. So it can't be linked. You're not synced. You're not synced.
What happens when people come together that aren't synced?
Usually an explosion somewhere of some sort. I guess that's what you might call someone, if there's bad influences, or, it's such a bad influence, or that's a wrong group to be around. But like attracts like as well. And sometimes, if people aren't synced, they might also be drawn together because they're not synced, because it's someone else.
The opposites attract thing.
Or maybe it feels safer to be with somebody or be in a group of people that are also in trauma or who are also not synced. Because for someone who is synced or someone who isn't synced, it could be hard for them to be around somebody that is synced. Like there's people that go, I can't be around her, she's too positive. She's too positive for me. That's okay. But that's an example of somebody that maybe has got so much that they need to deal with, so much they haven't faced, things that have happened to them, or things that haven't happened to them that they wish had happened to them, that dealing with somebody who's in a place of peace is too much for them because they're not there. So they can't possibly see where that other person's coming from. Oh, it's all right for you. That's a great phrase, isn't it? It's all right for you. You haven't, you haven't got this to live with, or you're not living with this person, or, it's okay for you.
Well, that's that judgment, isn't it?
Because you're assuming what you see is everything you see. But when that third eye is clear, you tend to see, or you tend to have that intuition of, that might not be everything I see. Social media is a great one for that. People only put on there what they want you to see.
Of course.
So we think we know people. But half the time those people aren't really too sure of themselves. They're sure that they want people to see that great angle, or to see them, these are the jobs I'm doing at the moment.
So it's really hard for someone so I found with social media, I used it as a long time to show all the best side of me, because I was so concerned that someone that would potentially employ me or someone that I'd work with in the future would judge me, that I just had to put out the 100% best version of myself all the time. And it wasn't healthy. And it didn't help as well when I met people, because I was meeting the people that did resonate with were the wrong people, because that wasn't the true version of myself.
Social media has, it's great for, boosting business, and it has got its place as well. But what I've noticed I've stopped doing now is I hardly put anything about me and my life on there now. Even on my, is it my performers one? I don't know. I use my stage name for it, but even on that one, I'm like, I could easily, I could easily now just pull up some of the commercials that I've done, put them on and go, Throwback Thursday or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
No. Who's it for? What's it doing? It's feeding my ego, just to remind me that I know I had a career doing this, this and this. I know it's not over. I think
I used to tell myself it lets people know that I've got some value. But that's not the value anyone's seeking, is it?
No. It's not always what other people want to see, like even casting directors or things like, sometimes, we think that they're checking our social media to see like how well we're doing. Sometimes they're just making sure that we're not some sort of political freak that's like shouting abuse at people. Are they really interested in that? Probably not. And I've noticed now, since doing that, I have a lot more contact with my friends via either phone calls or text messages, because they're not seeing what's going on in my life, so we have something to talk about.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, what have you been up to? Not, oh, I saw that you went to such and such. How was your holiday? Most people don't know I went away this weekend because I haven't put anything about it. I haven't posted any photos. And I'm kind of like, oh, that feels kind of good.
It is hard within the performing arts, though, to, promotion is something that we...
But then I feel...
We do need to let people know we exist and we perform, and
especially
this is our
if you're not established yet. Because the test for me was like, I wonder if I'll still get castings. I wonder if I still get this, that and the other if I stop doing that. There's no change.
The only the thing that I noticed sort of that's happening more and more with castings for me is that, especially on Spotlight, it will say how many social media followers have you got. It will want to know the metrics. Commercials want to know the metrics.
Okay. I haven't seen
and I'm
that.
starting to see that, and it's bothering me, because I'm like, why are you seeing value in that? What is it that you think is valuable there as a casting director or a brand?
So it could be lots of different things, couldn't it? It could be that they're thinking, oh, if they've got a lot of followers, let's just say, okay, the job's between you and some other guy, and he's got way more followers than you. When he's doing the job, if he posts on social media, way more people are going to see our brand, way more people are going to see this. That could be that.
So it's from a marketing angle only.
It could be from a marketing angle. Or it might not be. It might be that they
might want to see
somebody
that's a bit quiet and a bit more obscure and hasn't got things going on.
They might do. We're assuming. Someone once told me that assumption is the mother of all ups. And you're like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Assumption can get you into a lot of trouble. And also, when you said it gets to you a bit.
Yes, yeah.
So that's...
Well, I say that, yeah, I'm questioning it. I say it gets to me in the sense of, why? But you've helped me there. You've answered that for me. I didn't take a moment to consider the other side. That maybe it isn't about, they don't want you to have 6 million followers, they want you to have 6.
And maybe it's a universal test to you when you do see that on a casting. How's he going to react? There's actually nothing in this whatsoever. But it's there. I just want to see if you've learnt the lesson yet. To go, oh.
Yeah.
Sometimes I sometimes wonder if if I'm the only one that sees something because it was only meant for me.
Mm.
You know, if you go to somebody, did you see on that? No, I didn't see that. Or maybe it wasn't on there. Do you know what I mean? That's going like really woo-woo, but maybe it wasn't on their casting sheet.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a test for me. It was personal for me. How am I going to respond to it?
Yeah.
Respond, not react. Respond comes with the pause. React comes straight away. How many times have you done something you've gone, I wish I'd waited to the next day before I responded to that email, because now I would have responded differently.
Yeah.
Or reacted, sorry. You respond by taking a moment and go, okay, I'm just going to wait till I calm down, because it's not going to help anyone if I respond like that. I'm going to get a really crappy email back and it's not going to get resolved. Lots of little tests.
Oh, yeah, tests are coming all over the place, and tests and reminders and...
cycles to be broken.
Yeah, and again, I'm thinking back to yesterday now. So it's this week I'm going to a podcast show where there's lots of other podcasters to network and talks and things to hopefully, you know, see if there's anything that I can learn, or see if there's, you know, I want this to get better, and I want this to grow. So I'm going to this podcast show, but then I started getting this a bit of self-doubt of, you're going to just ask me about the numbers, the metrics, and how many followers have I got? And it's not, you know, this is early days still, so that's not there. And then yesterday I'm having a conversation, literally 10 minutes after having that thought, and the guy says to me that if you just want people to follow you, start up an Instagram page about a dog or a cat. Don't do it about something worthwhile. If it is just about the number, because everyone will follow a dog and a cat, something that's
Isn't that
cute.
ludicrous?
Yeah, but if you're doing something worthwhile, it's going to take time. And it was like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. But you didn't know that. You didn't know. I didn't ask you for that. I asked the universe what's going on.
And also, you know, if you do get asked about your numbers and your followers, deliver it with pride. Deliver it with, you know, I've got 3 followers. And watch how they don't know how to deal with that. 3, but look how happy he is.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing. Test other people.
And when I started this as well, there was never a moment of thinking about the numbers.
No.
There was when I started this, I never sat back and went, I want 1 million people to listen or whatever. I started with this as just me and the person that I'm doing it with. And the very first time I did this, it was me and my best friend. And we sat down and that's all it was. It was just about the 2 of us. And then it was adding 1 other friend, and it became about the 3 of us. And then the 4. And that's all it is. And so, yeah, if other people want to get caught up on that, that's not necessarily let them.
And also, it's none of your business if they want to get caught up in that.
No.
It's nothing to do with you. If they want to have their opinion, it's none of our business.
Yeah.
We know it's right. We know it's wrong.
So normally at this point of the conversation, I start to say to people, so what does
Get
the
out.
future look No, what does the future look like for you? But you're so present that... You still think about that? Yeah, we're still human.
Because I have a goal isn't the right word, but there's lots of things. Like, do you remember when I said I'd love to be helping new mums and babies, and, you know, doing healings on them straight after that trauma, just to ground them, make sure, you know, they're aligned so that they can move forward in a really peaceful and aligned way. I also would love to do that for people in their final days. So many people have regrets. They're holding on to it. That's not a peaceful way to pass. And I've had experience of doing that for people. And it was magic. It was. Sorry,
and that's something that I believe is really important is the feelings that when I met my guide, that was the beginning of it, that I went to hell based upon everything that I've felt in my life. I built up all of the bad feelings, and that was hell. But there can also be heaven there if we just look in the right direction. So to say that you want to be someone that guides them in their last moments into a nicer place, rather than them
and
hanging
also
on
help
to
them
those
let go
regrets.
of the stuff they've held on to. That's the important stuff. You don't let go of it, you take it with you. So wherever your soul goes next, whatever lifetime it goes into next, you're taking all those cycles with you. You're taking it all again with you. You want to let go. I say start afresh, but I don't think that's really the point. I think the point for us really is that we learn as much as we can in each lifetime, and we take it with us, and then we learn more and more, until the point where we're done, and we have learnt to not be triggered. We've learnt to love everybody, regardless of what they've done. Have no judgment. Be able to forgive ourselves of anything that we've said or done, and our ancestors. Because, I'm here now and I'm responsible for all my ancestors. Like you are. We're the person here now, living today. So it's our responsibility to forgive them and ourselves for anything that they may have done to anybody else. And you get to a point where you are in this kind of bliss pretty much most of the time. It's very hard for anything to shift that. When you get to that point, you're done. You can choose to come back if you want or not. God, we've gone a bit deep now.
We have. This is nice.
Yeah, but I just, for me, that's just comforting. And to be able to help people and their families as well that are struggling to let go, or struggling to accept what's happening. We're eternal. The soul can't die. So for me, that's like, wow, I'm going to lose people really close to me, and it's going to be sad. But they're never gone. They're never gone. It's impossible.
I used to be so afraid of death. So afraid.
Most people are.
I'm not anymore. I've discovered something else, and I feel the same. We don't want to lose people, but it's not a fear.
Because it will be okay. And I suppose the future for me is, I've recently had a massive sort of change in direction in my life. And it's kind of now gone, right, now you can really focus back on the castings. And like I said before, I feel like that's going to fund this new purpose. And I have lots of ideas with what I want to do, with my healing. And I guess I've put out the ideas. So now the future for me is I'm just going to ride the path to get me there. If they're going to benefit others and they're going to benefit me, then they will happen. So I don't have to worry about forcing it. Because they will, because they're for the greater good. That's my intentions behind it, So they'll happen because they're supposed to happen. And if a certain idea or a certain something whether doesn't happen, I go, okay, well, I wonder what the reason for that was, but it doesn't really matter. I'll be guided somewhere else. I do love performing, and I know that there probably is ego in there somewhere. There is, but for me now, the purpose of it has changed. I still love doing it, but the purpose has changed. That was my whole purpose for everything. And now it has a really important purpose, but it's a new purpose to be able to fund, me doing more courses or buying the singing bowls that I want that are hundreds of pounds each. You know what I mean? It's going to be, that is funding.
It's going to connect.
It's going to connect.
It's going to do, by doing that thing that you're capable of doing, is going to help the other thing that you're meant to be doing.
It's exciting.
It is.
What does your future look like?
Well, it's happening now.
It is. And actually,
I
I correct myself where I said the future isn't here yet. The infinity, the figure of 8 on the side, the middle is the now. And to the left is the past and to the right is the future. And they are all happening at the same time, because I do believe you can cross over. And I do believe you can, you have deja vus. Well, what is a deja vu? I've been here before. Yeah, I believe you. I believe you have been here before.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere there's a glitch and you've experienced it already and now you've come back.
Mm.
So the future and the past and the present are all happening at the same time, but you are not living them all at the same time. You have glitches. It's like after I did my Reiki 2 course, I was sitting on the sofa and all of a sudden the floor turned to water. And I was like, oh my God, has she drugged me or something? Like, what's happened? Like, I did have some of her snacks that she had there. Like, what? I've had her bottled water. What's gone? The water, the ground, the rug that my feet was on started to ripple.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her and she went, oh, you've just experienced the 5D. I'm like, I'm sorry. And she went, you've gone into 5-dimensional,
Mm-hmm.
the 5th dimension. I'm like, oh. I said, should I expect this to happen? She went, like, all the time. And it does. All the time. I went into my daughter's bedroom one day and I was just looking at something on the wall. So I was thinking, oh, should I put something up there? Should I put a picture up? And the wall split into 2 and it didn't line up. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna call out the 5th dimension again, has just entered my world, and then it flicked back. And I was like, I see. It's just showing me really that none of this is real. Mm-hmm. It's showing me there's something behind the veil.
There's something behind,
yeah. There's something behind it that we have no idea how amazing it is, and it's full of miracles. And when those miracles happen, they pass from one dimension to the other. They should be happening every day. We should be experiencing miracles all the time. And there's no size difference in a miracle. If it's a little miracle, it's a miracle. Doesn't matter. You're late for work, yet all the traffic lights are green. Miracle. It's Christmas, you go into the multi-story car park, there's one space, it's got your name on it. Miracle. They're happening all the time. If you don't recognise them as miracles, you're missing out. Because the buzz that you get at the end of the day, we go, I've had 15 miracles today, you know. And then when you spell them out for people, they're like, they're not miracles, they're just coincidences. No, they're not.
No,
they're not. Because I wouldn't have been here on time if it wasn't for those lights. I left the house late, you know, whatever it is. I once said to the universe, show me a feather to tell me that I'm on the right path. My daughter came out of school, she turned around, there was a feather stuck in her school jumper. I was like, what have you been doing, plucking chickens or something today? She was like, what do you mean? I said, there's a feather in your jumper. And she went, no, I haven't been around birds or anything today. I was like, thank you.
When you have something for your universe, do you need to protect it? When you have a question or you're asking something or you come up with an idea, do you keep that to yourself or can you be open?
You mean sharing it with somebody else?
Because I've found in the past when I've shared it, sometimes it's gone wrong. It's often gone wrong.
Why have you shared it? What was your reason for sharing it?
Ego.
Okay. I didn't know if that was going to be the answer.
I'm saying I'm discovering that in that moment.
Yeah.
I'm right
because you want
now.
someone to say, oh, that's a great idea, go for it.
Yes.
Or don't do it. Or
I'm looking for someone else's validation.
So I would guess that would be the answer then.
So now I'm very protective of you. You just asked me, like I see a future, and I am quite protective of that now. I do kind of, because it's good. It's a good, positive future.
So how you could answer that is, I see excitement. Mm-hmm. We think we have to explain what we actually see, but you could just say, I see me being really happy, and then no one can really validate that, can they? They can't. There's no they can't dispute it. But also, when you said, do you need to protect it? Do I need to protect it? If you think that it needs protection, then there's fear. Because you're fearing something, otherwise you wouldn't want to protect it. You protect something when you fear that something could happen and would go wrong. Let go of the fear. Let go of the fear. And I suppose if you do share it, pregnancy is a good one. So many women keep it to themselves for 12 weeks. And I've thought about it a lot. Because you think, why? Because they're scared something could go wrong. You know? And I'm like, but you found out that you're pregnant. And this is just my opinion, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If something was to happen, because I don't see it as going wrong, and also very easy for me to say, because I have a daughter, a healthy daughter, but no one knows what's happened in between that. The people that you're probably going to share that news with straight away are probably the people you would share anything sad happening with, the same people.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I just think, maybe don't see it as sharing. You're just telling someone a fact, aren't you? I've got a great, you don't have to tell the person an idea. You don't have to tell them what it is. I've got a great idea. I'm really excited about it. You're protecting it by just loving that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pregnant. Oh, okay, how many weeks? I'm on 3 weeks. Amazing. How are you feeling? You have if you come at it with an energy, it's probably going to be met with the same energy. I'm 3 weeks pregnant, but don't tell anyone else. I'm not sure. I'm a bit worried. There you go. You set a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
100%.
I think how you
come
at someone how you want to be met.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't meet you there, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
Because people can only behave at their frequency that they're at.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I find it easy to forgive people when they've done something maybe unforgivable. Let me look at this, but okay, they vibrate down here. They're full of greed, or they're full of hate or resentment. Why? What happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
What happened that you couldn't talk about? Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you have compassion, a bit of empathy, because you're like, wow, for you to have behaved like that, I don't even want to know what happened to you.
Mm-hmm. There's something freeing in the questions, isn't there? By asking the questions. It gives us freedom, doesn't it?
Be your own detective.
Mm.
Keep asking back. Okay, so, God, why did I do that today? Oh, I did that because I was scared. Why were you scared of it? Oh, because when I was a little girl, somebody said that to me and it really affected me. Oh, why do you think they said it? Probably because they were insecure. Oh, they were insecure. Oh my God, I've been insecure all of this time because somebody else's insecurity. Boom, you've solved your mystery. Next one. It's quite easy to drag it up and then deal with it. Some people call it, shadowing. Some people call it healing your inner child, or it doesn't have to be all hippie. Mm-hmm. It can be just play detective. But to play detective, you have to be open to being honest. You have to be honest with yourself. Because you can also have that, come Maria, why are you so insecure? I'm not insecure. Mm-hmm. Oh, hang on a minute. I've got two voices. Shh, what are you talking about? Ego and soul, always.
Ego and soul.
You're allowed to do this to your ego, to let the soul speak for a bit. You're in control. It's your ego. Mm-hmm. You tell it to do one, or you ask it to stay. Let it take control. Or say, you've got a place there somewhere. But I
was going to say, because there is a place for the ego.
I think so. I think
you
I
can't
think it
completely...
teaches, your ego gets you into situations where you have to learn. So, it's a teacher in some respects. Mm-hmm. It's not a saviour, though. But it's a teacher. It wouldn't be there if we weren't supposed to have it. Mm-hmm. I don't believe there's one person that doesn't have an ego. Mm-hmm. And having an ego is very different to being egotistical. I think sometimes people get triggered when you say, your ego is really loud. And they're like, what? I'm not egotistical. Mm-hmm. I didn't say you were egotistical. I just said, you're telling me that you're going to be terrible at this new job you're starting. Your ego is really loud. Has anybody else told you that you're going to be really bad at this? You got the job. Why did you get the job if you're going to be really bad at it? Oh yeah, no, I'm not being egotistical. Egotistical, everybody knows what an egotistical person's like. And there are a lot of them in the industry. Yeah,
I guess that's, for some reason, the performing, it breeds it, doesn't it? And how we think the industry should be or is, it grows. But like you say, we've got to have it, but not to the extent that it becomes us.
And also, I think another thing for younger people who are maybe wanting to go into the performing industry should think about is, you don't have to be better than anyone else to get a job.
Because there's that competition there.
Yeah.
I've experienced that as an actor. It's very solitary. Spend a lot of time alone being an actor.
But you don't have to be the best dancer to get a certain dance job. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you have no idea what they're looking for. So you could come out and go, I'm such a better dancer than that person that just got called back and I've been sent home. That's dangerous. That's a dangerous mindset. That will turn you spiteful. You'll be filled with resentment, jealousy. You have no idea what the criteria really is for that job.
What do you say to your students when they're off to auditions? Do you give them any advice?
To be honest, they're not at dance college, so some of them,
okay.
There's one or two girls that are wanting to maybe do it as a career, and they'll go off to college or whatever. But so I don't have any students that are auditioning for jobs and things like that. But if I did, what I would say was, you've chosen this career because you love it. So make sure you love your auditions. Do you know what I mean? Like, make sure you really enjoy. It's a free class. You're not going to enjoy every audition because you don't know who's taking the audition. You don't know what the choreography's like. I mean, I've walked into auditions and gone, this is not my style. Mm-hmm. It's not my strongest style. And I felt like a right wally. And that's
so refreshing to hear as well.
I have. And I've walked out of an audition before. I've walked out of a really big audition before because, I mean, there's a bit of a story about it. We were in the venue that the audition, it wasn't in a dance studio. It was somewhere else in Covent Garden. And they had us all spread out in different changing rooms. And my changing room didn't hear when they'd called us in to start the audition. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until we heard the music start and we were like, oh my God, what's happened? There was like 4 or 5. We ran in. We'd missed the first 2/8 of the choreography. Mm-hmm. It wasn't my style. I couldn't pick it up. Maria, with the photographic memory that remembers choreography, I couldn't pick it up. And then the panic sets in. And then the self-doubt sets in. And then you feel yourself getting really emotional. And then I just slipped away, went out. And then I beat myself up for days and days because I thought it was a job that I really wanted. Mm-hmm. It was for a live TV show. And I thought I really wanted that job. Because I hadn't ticked off. You know, you've got your boxes, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
I haven't ticked off a live TV show or a music awards or something like that. And I cried. I even rang another friend that was a dancer for their, Maria, don't worry about it. Like, I wanted all of that. And they didn't give me that. Like, why did you walk out? That's so stupid. You shouldn't have. I was like, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear. Okay, I've got to go. Like, it was literally like snowballing. Mm-hmm. I don't quite remember how I came out of that. But I did, probably there was another audition and I got it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I ticked that box off with something else. I got a music awards. I got a live TV. And it was, when I say the word easy now, I don't mean in a big-headed way, but everything flowed for me to get that job. Mm.
The other one wasn't, even though you wanted the other one, it wasn't meant to be. I
was petrified before I walked in through the door. Mm-hmm. I was petrified of that audition. And this one was somebody ringing me up, a guy that I danced with before, and he was American, an American choreographer was coming over and was choreographing for a performer for the Brits. And she asked him, instead of a big old audition, who do you recommend? Mm. What?
Yeah.
You've suggested me? Like, I was like, what? That's insane. Sent photos off and she just went, yeah, I trust you. I trust you to say that these people are what I want, what I need. There you go. Somebody who knows your talent, who knows who you are, you're going to be easy to work with. And I was, there was loads of them. There was dancers better than me, more flexible than me, whatever. But I've got my own strengths. And he trusted in me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, there you go.
There's something, it's funny because someone recently was talking to me about how upsetting it is that it's an industry of who you know. Mm. But actually there's a positive side to that as well.
Yeah, there is. There is, because I think it can become more inclusive that way. I mean, there's a huge negative side to it.
Yeah, it can become less inclusive if you're just taking from your just taken from one pool of people, one small circle, what does the art and the craft look like if it hasn't got any culture and diversity in there? So you need to bring in people from outside. But at the same time, there is something nice in...
Yeah, because you don't know what a choreographer's, like from a dancing point of view, you don't know, a choreographer might go, look, I need 8 really good dancers. If they're great to work with and they have this kind of look, but they're maybe not the most technical, I don't care. But that might not necessarily get seen in an audition with 500 girls. It might not. It might do, but it might not.
No.
And I think also...
I guess you're more likely to see that in your circles with people that you've worked with before or you've got experience with in some way.
But also, isn't this whole world based on it's who you know, not what you know? It's not just our industry. It's every industry, really.
So it's a case of getting out there in the world and being part of the world, isn't it?
Live as many experiences as you possibly can. Even if the experience seems completely unrelated to your career, it will be related to it. Because your career isn't just your talent. A dancer that works a lot, she doesn't just work a lot, or he doesn't just work a lot because he's talented. I can guarantee you that. Because I know plenty of dancers that have been taken off jobs because they're outstanding, but horrible to work with. And you think, my God, but they were the best dancer in the group. Choreographer's like, I can't work with you. So get as many experiences as you can, because really, a lot of it does come down to who you are. If you walk into a room and you light it up, they'll go, okay, she hasn't got great arches in her feet, but
the
look
energy's
at that.
right.
She walks in and the audience, the camera loves her. Whatever it is, that's,
Yeah. We often talk about in talent that there's like an X factor. There's something that we can't quite put our finger on, that we can't quite say what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe that comes from all the experiences that you've had throughout your life. Yeah, and how you've processed them.
Ultimately, it will show. Our skin's our largest organ, and I believe, that a light. Sometimes you just see people and a light just literally shines from them, like the Ready Brek glow. Do you remember the Ready Brek
yes, yeah,
commercials?
Yeah.
They eat their Ready Brek and then they've got that glow around them. It literally just shines from their skin outwards. Yeah. And, ultimately, I think that is what attracts people to people. You can walk in a room and go, "Ooh, this doesn't feel good." It's like, I know in this theatre, you walk in the theatre and like, oh my God, this is amazing, but we're not alone. We're not alone in here.
No.
We're never alone, but, particularly here. But it feels good.
And I like that you say that, because it feels good. Like I've been here for 20 years and this feels like my home. And I feel the energy's good here. I've always just known that. Some people come in and say, oh, it's a bit spooky, whole building. I'm like, no, it's like the energy's right.
Do you talk out loud here?
Obviously. but
I mean, like when you're on your own.
Well, in the sense that I'll do a lot of, if ever I'm rehearsing for an audition or I'm rehearsing a play, I'll be here on my own speaking out loud.
But that's a script.
But that's a script. I don't tend to do... No, do you know what's really interesting, actually? I don't really talk out loud. I don't really say thoughts out loud. And the other day, I was at home and alone, and I did. I spoke out loud. I said to myself, it is so peaceful right now. Like, this is bliss. And I said that out loud. And then my son went, "Oi, Dad!" What?
You're never alone.
yeah. And it was just really weird, because I don't talk out lout. I don't do that. And
you should try that here. I think you'll get an answer.
Well, we had I've got a ghost hunting episode of this.
Have you?
Some ghost hunters. We did they have their podcast, and they came in to talk to me. They do what's it called, cosplaying. They dress up as Ghostbusters and Pokemon and things like that. So we talked about that, but then we also talked about their podcast where they ghost hunt, and there are a few ghost stories from here. But they did this moment of, I can't remember what the technical term is now. It's not like a seance, but the guy puts on some headphones and a mask, and he's got like static noise playing in his ears, and he just speaks whatever words come out. And he just kept saying, I appreciate your voice. I appreciate your voice. Keep talking to me. And it just sort of resonated with me. I just felt something from that.
I love that kind of stuff. It's so cool.
It's just, it's very interesting. I grew up with a lot of, I had a lot of experiences when I was younger.
You? When I'm doing my healing, I get a lot of stuff come through. Mm-hmm. So I'll get random messages come through. I've always had a psychic gift, but I've never channeled it. Mm-hmm. It's not something I want to train in. I don't want to be a medium or anything like that. But I do get things come through when I'm doing my healings, and they can, sometimes it's past life comes through, but it'll be completely random. Like she's a friend of mine, but she came to me for healing, and she'd lost her dad a few months before. And at the end of, because I don't speak to the person while they're actually having their actual energy healing. They're lying down, they can sleep if they want. But I'm writing down notes, and at the end I was like, Cheetos? I can see a bag of Cheetos. Oh, that's random. I'm going to put it down because it's come up. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I went through her notes, got to the end, and I went, look, I'm really sorry, this is going to sound so silly. I said, but I saw a big bag of Cheetos. And she went, I went, what? And she went, well, last night, she said, I got the munchies, and I went into my kids' snack drawer, and all they had were their Cheetos. It's their favourite, but I ate them all. So she said, today I had to go out and rebuy them. So when they get home from school, and she went, my dad was watching me eat my Cheetos. I went, well, it's your interpretation. I'm just here to tell you what came up. But how random is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought she was going to go, Cheetos? Like, that's weird. But she didn't. She was like, I know what that is. It's great. We all have the ability. Just got to be open to it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something in being open to it as well. And I think at a young age, when I had lots of experiences, I didn't know anything better.
Did any of the experiences scare you?
There was an experience that scared me because it was happening quite intensely for a period of time. So I'd moved to Hull. I grew up in Faden Boys, and everything, my whole family felt very secure. Oh, timer.
It's my timer. Let me see it.
So I won't go into too much detail with this one, but yes, I had good and bad experiences and neutral experiences, but I was very open to, my mind was very open to it.
How old were you?
I would say this was happening between the age of 10 and 16. And then, past 16, there's been a couple of moments, there's been a couple of things that have happened to me here. Very strange things happen to me here when I've been here alone. So I'm still very open to it. And my spiritual experiences that I've had going to different dimensions have made me even more open to it. So like we've said, there's just so much going on in this universe.
There is. We'll never have all the answers.
No. But this conversation has been wonderful, very eye-opening. I really appreciate you joining me and sharing.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.
It's been great. I really do appreciate it, Maria.
Oh, you're welcome.
And if anyone is watching or listening, appreciate them as well for joining us on this journey.
We all need each other on this journey.
Exactly.
Can't have one without the other.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, that was fun.